In an age where ideas like big pharma conspiracies, Illuminati involvement and mind control are mainstream, what message would you convey to those who believe in these theories or are propagating them, and pushing these sorts of messages out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very interesting that big pharma employs super intelligent people for the simple reason that what they do is actually very difficult. And the good thing about it is that most of the developments that we've had so far in science, in medicine.
Hi, my name is Juliet, and I'm the creator and host of Connecting the Dots podcast. I love ideas and problem solving, and my career in communications has led me down a path of curiosity. Why we do what we do, how we tell better stories, and how African scientists solve everyday problems. Join me on this enlightening and entertaining exploration of African science like you've never experienced before. Get ready to laugh, learn, and be inspired. Moses Alobo is a high flyer medical doctor with multiple leadership accolades under his belt, with stints in hospitals to big pharma, and now more recently occupying global and philanthropic funders' corridors. He has thrown his weight to identify bold ideas and innovations on the continent and provide young scientists with funding. The innovations must be bold and provide homegrown solutions to global and development challenges. Karibu, Moses.
Asante sana.
Moses, let's have a little chat.
Asante sana.
One of the reasons we felt the need to be able to invite you here as a top African science leaders is because of your work in innovations. We have a lot of challenges, not only on the continent, but globally. But for you, you've moved from being a medical doctor to working in big pharma and now to being a major funder for African innovations. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you ended up in funding innovations, why that space, and what are the challenges around there in terms of competition with fintech?
How did I end up here? Do I even know what I'm doing? I'm not so sure. I really don't know what I've become, but it's an interesting mashup of various different experiences from various different places. Initially started off as a general doctor, Iten District Hospital.
Western Kenya?
Yes, Western Kenya,
Wow.
if you remember that. And one of the things that pushed me out was just that realization that if you are to improve the general health of people in the world as a medical doctor, you've got two options. Either see one patient at a time or go for hundreds or thousands or millions at a time. And I think at reflection, I thought, why not go for millions?
Yeah.
So I stepped out
Bold
of
move.
Iten District Hospital. And, those days, HIV was burning through the African continent. So I ended up as a HIV doctor. Somehow I got introduced into research, and I loved it because there was so much information that was not known about HIV, that time when it was there, mid to late 90s. Early 2000s, and we needed a lot of information.
So Moses, you moved from being a medical doctor who saves lives, and some people would think that you sold your soul to the devil by joining Big Pharma. Tell us a little bit about the inspiration for that, and what was the craziest thing you did in that move?
It's a common phrase, selling your soul to the devil, that is associated with the pharmaceutical industry. But guess what? When I was in Drugs for Neglected Diseases initiative, I got a colleague of mine who joined us from the pharmaceutical industry. And the interesting thing about her is that she talked louder, she jumped higher, she punched harder, she ran faster, she was just perfect. And I thought, oh, wow, what is it that turned you to become into this thing that you are now? And I absolutely saw the need of joining the pharmaceutical industry. That training, if anyone ever gets a chance of joining the pharmaceutical industry, or corporate for that matter, please do it. It's a really, really good experience, just being out there and, being able to react to market forces, because that's really your life. But now as a scientist, trying to react to market forces, it changes you in ways that you'll probably never anticipate.
And hence the science and business aspect of things, right?
Yes, absolutely. So at the moment, I am at Science for Africa Foundation. I run Grand Challenges Africa, and we do science innovation pathways. The interesting thing now is that we talk to scientists and then try to make sure that whatever it is that they are developing are responding to market needs. And then at the same time, we try to understand what is the market in certain areas of the African continent, and then push that back into the lab, so that we are at a place where we are getting the maximum out of the market and also the maximum out of the science.
So when we talk about the market, do you mean the challenges existing on the continent and then globally? Is that what you say by saying you're responding to the needs of the people?
Yeah, so what I mean is this, simple example, okay? Scientists come up with crazy ideas. So for you recall Femidom, the female condom. Interesting thing about it, it was an innovation that was supposed to actually make the woman be in control of herself, but sexual activity, just like the way men have some form of control with a male condom. Now, it flopped. There's no Femidom in your pharmacies now. There's no female condom in your pharmacies now, for the simple reason that the market research around it was not good enough. The testing of it, the choice of material, the noises it makes during sexual intercourse, all those should have been considered a little bit earlier in the development process. And that kind of testing, I'm not so sure whether it was done, but eventually the market rejected it. And that's why, for me, it's very interesting to keep that balance between what the market needs, what science is developing, and then making sure that product development is actually going hand in hand with market development. That's
Moses, let's talk about you a little bit as a person. It's been interesting. You said you are a medical doctor and then you joined Big Pharma, sold your soul to the devil, transitioned into innovation. And I'm just wondering, just overall, in general, what are your interests over and above science and business? What excites you? What is the thing that when you leave the office after you've granted 100,000 in grand challenges or 1 million to an innovator, what is the other thing outside science that excites you?
Yeah. So sometime in 2013, I bought a Volvo. Okay. Interesting car. But there were not too many Volvos in Nairobi at that particular point in time.
I thought we grew up with Volvos.
They were there. They used to be there in the 90s, 80s, 70s.
Or did they suddenly phase out at some point? Okay.
Yeah.
They stopped making them?
Yeah. So good car. But interestingly enough, there were only, very few.
A handful.
And getting spare parts was very difficult. Yeah. So we started a WhatsApp group that eventually grew into, now a big club, so to speak.
What was the name
Volvo
of the WhatsApp?
Club of Kenya.
Okay. I thought it was like Volvo lovers or something.
Yeah. Which is now, it has got a, proper leadership and everything else.
Oh, wow. It grew into a serious thing.
And now, if you have a look at the streets of Nairobi, Volvo is every other, 5th, 10th car, which is absolutely amazing. But the group still continues and it keeps growing stronger. So, as I said, what disturbs you is what drives you to actually do something. One of the other interesting examples is in the village. We didn't have so much money, so to speak. We usually crack jokes and tell our dad, the only thing you gave us, who are the good genes? which is nice.
Yeah.
But
wait, genes as in we're talking about genetic
yes,
genes,
genetic
not clothing genes.
not
Okay.
clothing genes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But that also disturbed me a bit, to the extent that I decided to put up a village library in Mungatsi, my village, close to the Ugandan border. It's been in existence since 2011.
Okay.
Yeah, and I continue supporting it, and I think we do currently 30 to 40 visits every day. It has daily newspapers. People come out, read it. It's actually converting itself into a social club, which is nice. We keep giving it more and more books. The community is now even giving out books to the library. So it's really nice when I'm there and I just see all these people reading and, wanting to do more examples.
So pardon my ignorance just a little bit. One would assume that you can get a book anywhere. I mean, if you can get a Coca-Cola, I'm assuming that even with books, you can get them anywhere. Is this the case, or is it very difficult to be able to get books?
No, it's tough.
And why is it so difficult?
Yeah, it's not that easy. Books are not cheap. They're expensive. And of course, books are one of those things that can, transport an individual into another world, and really change the way you think. Of course, the other argument is that TikTok could just as well do that.
Right.
Which also brings me to the point that the same library, at the moment, we are planning to take it digital, which really means that we will put in, some computers and Wi-Fi, and just make sure that that particular information is still accessed by that particular community.
In an age where ideas like big pharma conspiracies, Illuminati involvement and mind control are mainstream, I mean, what message would you convey to those who believe in these theories or are propagating them, and pushing these sorts of messages out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very interesting that big pharma employs super intelligent people for the simple reason that what they do is actually very difficult. And the good thing about it is that most of the developments that we've had so far in science, in medicines development, in vaccines development is really because of that hard work that has been done by people in the pharmaceutical industry. Now, the interesting thing is that once or twice you get one or two rogue executives who eventually, either they up the prices or, hide some information so that they can be able to sell more. But that does not mean that Big Pharma is actually rogue, wholesomely rogue. Not at all. Actually, it's the opposite. There are very many people who stick to integrity and their science, and what they do is actually replicable. They follow and talk about the side effects of those particular medicines, and they make sure that those particular list of side effects actually end up on that insert that you get when you're picking your medicines from a pharmacy. So I would say that it's probably one of those innovative places someone could want to work.
Okay, and which African scientist do you think is doing some super amazing work, and who are they, what are they doing, and in what field?
Yeah, I would pick a gentleman called Colin Masimirembwa out in Zimbabwe. Yeah. What Colin's done is that he has been able to identify something we call pharmacogenomics, which really means that our genetic material and actually controls the way we react to some medicines. And he's been able to demonstrate that, for example, there are some HIV drugs that we react to differently because our genetic code is as diverse as it is on the African continent, and therefore it means that anytime you are actually developing a drug in the world and you're thinking about everyone in the world should actually use it, then it's absolutely important for you to start thinking about including Africans in that particular research study.
So what's unique about Colin?
Yeah, so just being able to think about local problems and then being able to devise experiments that explains those particular local problems, and then eventually formulating some solutions to those kind of issues.
Yeah, I really like that. And that's when we think about connecting the dots, one of the things we want to be able to do is showcase, our African scientists who don't necessarily get out there, and vocalize their work. You're either hidden away in the lab, in your scientific conferences, and you're not getting out into the mainstream. As a scientist, what daily habits do you think regular people should adopt that is often overlooked, or ignored?
We are inquisitive beings. We have questions all the time.
Yeah.
We practice science every day. You should see a baby experimenting with gravity. First time they encounter it, it's absolutely amazing. They will climb one stair, pick whatever, a ball, and drop it, and then wonder, why is that ball dropping? And then they'll go collect it again and climb the one stair and drop it again, just to understand that it will not go up, it will go down.
But tell me something. Let's look at health innovations.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even remember the last time I held notes and coins in my hand. In Kenya, for us, we are using a technical innovation in the financial sector, and that's M-Pesa.
Yeah.
Nigerians and much of Africa, they've been introduced to Flutterwave, which has really helped businesses be able to do business with the continent, Africans, and also the world. But I can't think of an African health innovation that I can really, say, without this thing, I can't imagine a world without that particular health innovation. Can you pinpoint us to what health innovations exist out there? Because I strongly suspect that you might be in the wrong business, or you're betting on the wrong horse in terms of health innovations.
Yeah, so am I betting on the wrong horse? Am I, putting my money where I will probably lose it by saying that we need to build health innovations on the African continent? I don't think so. For the simple reason that intelligence is equally distributed around the world, but opportunity is not. I've met some of the most brilliant scientists who, incidentally, are African. And these days, believe it or not, Africa's best export at the moment, I will even dare say Kenya's best export at the moment, is actually intelligence, human intelligence, and therefore humans, people.
Yeah.
Because that is what we have. And we've gotten to a point where we many other countries want what we have. So therefore, if I'm now to come back to health innovations, the interesting thing is that there are lots of health innovations out there that are being created every day. But the challenge is that if you talk about health innovations, you cannot compare it with fintech innovations, for example, because the ecosystem that actually supports fintech innovations is amazing. It's well developed. Everyone knows what to do. If you come up with an app today and then you decide, hey, I need to perfect this, there are a lot of people who have the experience, they've done it, they've scaled, they've sold it, who can be able to actually help you. But if you come up with a new laboratory method today, and then you want to convert it into, money or a company or whatever it is, getting support in Kenya, getting support on the African continent, you will struggle a bit. And it's just because we've not built that particular infrastructure for that kind of support. So for me, I think my sort of like vision, what I would really like to do is to make sure that health innovations, scientific innovations on the African continent are actually working towards local problems. Because for the longest time, our intelligent minds on the African continent have actually been used for science that is important for problems that are not on the African continent. And I mean, that's just wrong.
Yeah.
So we need to change that particular narrative.
So in terms of thematic areas, where are you beginning to fund by way of innovations? Is it just only in the health space? You've mentioned science. So what's in science? And I'm hoping, I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, when you're talking about we export a lot of intelligence out there, to the global north or to developed countries. One thing I'm thinking about is AI is huge. So it's so funny that you're talking about exportation of intelligence, whereas artificial intelligence is beginning to occupy space. So by way of innovations, what are the innovations that you're supporting? And then also, what are the unique ones that you have been able to fund and where are they today?
Yeah. So for me, I think we need to think more and more about integrated innovations. And that's a little bit interesting. When I say integrated innovations, I really mean innovations that pick various different areas of science, put them into one, and then make sure that they're actually responding to the problem that is there. If I was to give you an example, one of our grantees, Dahabo Adi, out in Marsabit.
In northern Kenya?
Yes, northern Kenya.
Yeah.
She took a satellite tracking device, put it in a cultural bracelet, and then after that convinced high-risk mothers, pregnant mothers, to actually wear it. Now, if you know that particular area, it's semi-arid. Health centers are probably 100 kilometers away, some 200 kilometers away.
Sparsely distributed.
It is sparsely distributed, very tough to provide healthcare. You really need to do a little bit more. So when she started, first of all, she had the hardware, which is good. Now,
which was a bracelet, right?
Yes, which is a bracelet. Now, I can tell you it's very challenging convincing a nomad mother to actually wear a tracking device because of the security issues that are usually there in that particular part of the world. But she could be able to do it because she understood the cultural issues that are there and being able to convince these particular mothers that, yes, I will track you, but at the same time, I'm going to provide medical care for you and your community when I visit or when you press this button, okay? Which is really cool. But on the other hand, once she did it for year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, she started developing heat maps that can be able to tell in April, this is where people move to. In March, this is where people move to. In December, it's the other way around. So if you are, for example, to start positioning a TB laboratory, if you start thinking about vaccination drives in that particular part of the world, then you start realizing, yes, you now have an answer to a problem that has been there since we know how long, So, and these kind of things cannot be done by foreigners. It's only the local scientists that can be able to give us solutions like this. So for me, we need to go more local. We need to apply our minds. And then use scientists who really understand our current communities.
Lastly, as we wrap up, what fascinates you, what scares you? It doesn't have to be in the innovation, the science space, or even in fintech.
The way YouTube responds to videos that you click on all the time. At the moment, I've been watching a series of videos. Why Nairobi is the New York of Africa. and I absolutely
Is it really?
Yes, there are lots of videos that actually say that. And yes, I think I'm lucky to be living in Nairobi at this particular point in time.
Why is that?
Because it is moving, developing, maturing, urbanizing at a very, very fast rate. These days, when I travel to various different cities in Europe and even the US, sometimes I don't feel the difference, which is amazing because a while ago, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, I used to feel the difference.
It was a stark
Yes,
difference.
there was a stark difference. These days I don't.
Yeah.
So that is just something that fascinates me about Nairobi at the moment. It's growing.
And I think we see this also across the
fast.
continent. If you look at places like Addis, we were recently in Senegal,
Yes.
and it's impressive just the amount of development progress that's happening across the world. It's almost like it's equalizing, it's leveling the playing field for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What and how would you advise parents to encourage their children or set them on their paths to be the next you or other leading scientists? How do we inspire that curiosity, especially when we have so many distractions and anti-intellectual conversations that are happening? We saw this with COVID
Absolutely.
vaccine, anti-vaxxers. Yeah. So how do we inspire the next generation to be curious and to become a Moses Alobo?
Yeah, so the way of inspiring children towards science is explaining to them that at the end of the day, everything that we see, this mic that I'm talking into right now, this platform that we are using is basically science. So science is not going away.
Yeah, it's everywhere in your
It's everywhere.
space, right?
In your phone, that's all science.
Food you eat.
The food you eat is science.
Fashion.
Yes,
The clothes we're
fashion
putting
is
on.
science.
Right.
Absolutely. Cosmetics, the cosmetic world is actually driven by science. Yeah. When you go to hospital, I mean, that's an obvious one. That is definitely a science.
Travel.
Travel. Absolutely. Travel. Airport. Even when you just say an airport, the way it's run, that is down to science. So science is not going anywhere. Science is the world. The only thing is that we have pushed science to become not too sexy, and that's a big problem. There are other fields that are turning out to be, a little bit more attractive. But what I would say is push your children to actually do more in science, because science will always be there.
Well, thank you so much, Moses Alobo. We wish you all the best in luck as you fundraise for these fantastic innovations on the continent. And we look more to what you're going to do next in terms of science and business. And from us here, Connecting the Dots, I'm your host, Juliet. Connecting the Dots is recorded and produced by Teamwork at AMP Studios in Nairobi, Kenya. Join me, Juliet, as I interview the next amazing African scientist on the next episode of Connecting the Dots podcast. It is available on your favorite podcast app on Apple or Android. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and tell a friend or enemy about us.